Every cloud has a silver lining. If you've never heard this quote, it means no matter how bad the situation might seem, there is always some good aspect to it. Looking back on my time as an exchange student in the US, it was not without its struggles. I was either exposed to or made aware of just about every negative stereotype one may have about America or Americans. Drugs, obesity, abortion, second marriages, materialism, and gun violence. It could have been enough to send me back to Japan in fear. However, I didn't give up, and I didn't focus on what was wrong. In fact, through all my experiences, good and bad, I gained so much from my time abroad. Making it to America was not easy. I decided at the age of 16 that I wanted to go on a student exchange program. There were two obstacles in my way: money and my father. Since my family was financially unstable, it seemed nearly impossible. I worked at an ice cream shop to save money just to take the exam, and I passed. Shortly after, a miracle happened. Because of the inheritance from my grandfather who passed away several years before, my first obstacle disappeared. My father, obstacle number 2, was totally against my idea of going abroad. I even went so far as to threaten to end my life if he wouldn't give in. I cried, "Dad, please, I must go to America or I'll kill myself." Of course, I didn't mean it, but it showed just how determined I was to get my way. I was stunned when he finally said it would be all right. There were stipulations, however. He would allow me to go if I signed an oath. "Take a pen and write as I say," he said. 1. I will never go on a date with an American man. 2. I will never bring an American man into Japan. 3. I will never marry an American man. It sounded like Japan's 3 non-nuclear principles to me. I was unprepared for everything I would experience. My first homestay was the best. My host mother was Bonnie, an elementary school teacher. We enjoyed activities together like camping, visiting national parks, and Indian reservations in Southwest America. I was so comfortable and happy that I wished I could stay in America for good. In contrast, my second host family was as dramatic as a Netflix special. When the summer was over, I moved to Michigan to start my school year with them. Right after meeting my new family and their daughter at the airport, my host mother burst into tears in front of me in the restroom. She cried, "Susie got pregnant and wants an abortion. She's killing our first grandchild." Her daughter Susie and I were the same age of 17, and she lived in a dormitory because of trouble at home. I once witnessed Susie sitting in her father's lap, kissing him continuously. She was begging her father for money for an abortion. It blew my mind, and I didn't know how to react. I had empathy for them, and I really wanted to save my host parents. Because this was a second marriage for my host parents, they both had kids from their previous marriages. Susie was 17, but she also had a stepbrother the same age. I heard he was a high school dropout, living in a tent with his girlfriend, using drugs. I tried my best to fit in and adjust to my new environment, but it never felt quite right. For starters, my new home was like a shrine of materialism. Before I even arrived, they filled my closet with new clothes, shoes, and bags. They tried to fill me materialistically. Additionally, some of their habits were very foreign to me. They never cooked, and didn't even have a dining room table. We ate our dinners on the couch every night. It was no surprise that both of my host parents were grossly overweight and suffered from diabetes. Adding to the craziness was my host mother's overprotective behavior towards me. She wanted me to call her from school every day to make sure I was safe. She had an unreasonable fear of gun violence and always worried I may get shot. My host father shared with me that she became very sensitive after a serious car accident 10 years prior. I was so uncomfortable with the unhealthy lifestyle I was taking part in that when I could no longer take it, I called my dad in Japan. He reassured me and told me to just hang on. Every night I cried and cried. I had never cried so much in my life. I also found solace in my first host mother, Bonnie, who offered to have me come back to her home in New Mexico. In the end, however, I decided to stay in Michigan because going back to New Mexico felt like giving up. My next step was to contact my agent and see if I could get placed with a new family. However, it wasn't as simple as I thought. My current family didn't want me to go, and they tried whatever they could do to get me to stay. One day, I came home to find a house filled with about 15 Japanese college students, all there to persuade me not to leave. Their accusations felt like an attack on my character. They couldn't understand why I was dissatisfied. It was the first time in my life that I went through a complete meltdown. Was I wrong to want to leave? Was I being selfish? I asked myself these questions and more as I struggled to find the answer. My host father had always been so kind and gentle with me. I felt sorry for hurting him and it broke my heart. However, ultimately, I arrived at the conclusion that I just had to leave them in order to survive. Luckily, I was saved by my third family. They were normal and offered a more stable environment. Even though my homestay experiences were filled with highs and lows, I grew as a person and learned valuable lessons. For one, I learned that the oxygen mask theory holds true. Remember how when flying, you were told to secure your mask before securing the mask to someone else? Well, the same applies in life. You can never make someone else happy until you make yourself happy first. I also learned that there is always light in the darkness. Through my experience, I gained a great friend, Bonnie. My first host mother and I still have a great connection even after 30 years. In fact, my own kids regard her as their American grandma. Altogether, my time in the US was one of the great highlights in my life. And if I had to do it all over again, I would.